Well, Tent City started about 7.5 years ago when the fellow by the name of Richie Mazzella, he just asked me one day if I could find a place for him closer to town where he didn't have to walk so far. And so I told him I'd look around and see if I could find something. And I saw this path at the traffic light. And so I walked back here and I saw that this area had been cleared out. Somebody had owned it in the past and cleared some of the area out of the underbrush, which is one of the hardest parts about setting up a campsite, is clearing the ground and getting it prepped for a tent. Tent City is extremely diverse. If there's one word to describe Tent City, it's diverse. It's grown on an average of about 20 people a year, or maybe a little bit less than that on an average, but some people come and some people go. The only qualification for Tent City is just being homeless, so there's no background checks or anything like that, and so they just, they're told that the only rule that they're told, that Tent City has when they come in is, you've got to respect your neighbor, the golden rule, do right by your neighbor. And, that's basically the only rule in Tent City.
Well, there are several issues that the township has with Tent City. First of all, there's a safety issue. A lot of people have died there, either from cold or fire or stabbings. There used to be very little police control there. Over the last few years, we started to have the police go in and out to try to keep crime down, and we were having issues with drugs and people loitering in other neighborhoods, and there was suspicion of drugs. And then there's the humanitarian side, where we didn't want to see people living in the woods if we didn't have to. So there are people living in the woods all over Lakewood, but you typically, or all over the country, typically it's 2 or 3 people at a time, or 5 people that get together. Here we had so many people living there, and it became unhealthy for the people living there, became unhealthy for the people living around Tent City, became unsafe for everybody. So there was a lot of pressure to do something about it, so we decided that we're going to have to try to dismantle it.
The problem is, it's an extremely unfair, unequal distribution of government resources in Lakewood. We've got a lot of Section 8 homes going up in Lakewood, and almost exclusively across the board, without exception, it's going to one community, and that's the Orthodox community. Yes, as far as our relationship with the Township Committee and Deputy Mayor Ackerman, who was the mayor last year and the Deputy Mayor this year, and seems to be the spokesperson for the Township Committee. He's a very pleasant fellow, very amiable, well-spoken, and but again, he's representing his constituency, his voting bloc, the people who vote him into power, which is the Orthodox community. And so, he's got to do their bidding, or, he won't be deputy mayor very long, or he won't be on the township committee very long.
Minister Brigham had created this whole PR machine and was trying to give off the impression that this was all because people were being priced out of homes, because in Lakewood a lot of new homes are going up, and therefore left people homeless. But the fact is that 90% of the people living in Tent City didn't even come from Lakewood, because we have our own safety net here. We're a very well networked town, and when someone is having a homelessness issue, then we take care of them ourselves. So the people who are living there are primarily from outside of Lakewood. In January 2013, I received a lot of emails and phone calls from residents living in town and from people living outside of Lakewood. There were people complaining about driving by and having to deal with this, having to inhale all the smoke, because they weren't just burning wood, they were burning like excess foods and all sorts of trash.
The fires are really bad here. It happens almost every week, so it's dangerous.
For them to focus on this issue where people have nothing and are just barely scraping by, and then other people in Lakewood getting McMansions, at the taxpayer's dollar, and not sharing that with anybody else, is un-American. It's un-American. It's against how far we've come with civil rights, and I think they need to, again, take a closer look at their own objectives and their own agendas, and realize this is America.